Welcome to Keep Moving Forward, the Success Formula podcast. I'm your host, Gordon Des. In each episode, we dive deep into the mindset, the struggles, and the breakthroughs that shape a meaningful life. I'll be sharing the raw, unfiltered stories of my own journey, from my new inspirational memoir, and sitting down with special guests from my past and current life, and ones who've also faced their own turning points. This isn't just about success by theory. It's about building a life of purpose, resilience, and relentless forward motion. Because no matter where you are, no matter what you're facing, the formula is simple. Keep learning, keep growing, keep moving forward. Let's get into it.
This is the Keep Moving Forward Success Formula podcast with your host, Gordon Des. And we have a special guest on board for today. We have Dustin Knapp. He is the owner of the Wicker Tree in Langley. I thought it'd be great to bring him on here to talk about entrepreneurship. If you read my book, Keep Moving Forward, The Success Formula, you'll know that I've always had entrepreneurship sort of brewing in the background all my life. And I'm self-employed now, have been for 22 years. And I just think it's the way to go. And I thought it'd be great to have Dustin on. So Dustin, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, Des. Great to be here.
So yeah, we've known each other since, I was trying to remember this earlier, since what, 2000 and...
I believe it was
2017?
I think 2018. I think summer of 2018.
2018,
okay. When we met.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, how Dustin and I met, I used to be the rep for Big Green Egg, you know, the ceramic cooker barbecue thing. And I was the rep for British Columbia. And I strolled into your store one day because I was just thinking I need a retailer in Langley. And I didn't meet you that day, I believe, did I?
I'm not sure if it was that day. I think you met my mom first.
Yeah.
And had a good chat with her. And then I might have been there outside. We were unwrapping a bunch of furniture and
right. Okay.
And then we connected, and I think my mom was like, you know, this guy, you know, you should come listen to what he has to say. And for me, you know, we always get a lot of different reps coming by wanting you to carry their product, or perhaps it's advertising they're looking to connect you with. And so initially, for me anyways, I'm always a little bit skeptical of whoever's coming by. But I gotta say, there's something about your presentation, and it was that you believed in it, and you were so enthusiastic about it.
Right.
That was a big deal to at least get the conversation started. And, you know, then we took it from there, and we've been a Big Green Egg rep ever since. And it's a great product, and it's doing well for us. People are loving it. People, you know, of course, over the years loved connecting with you, and you'd come out and do some cooking demos and stuff. I mean, who wouldn't enjoy that, right? So that was was part of the fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So when I went in there to the store for the first time and met with Dustin and his family and stuff, his family-run business, and was really taken aback by just how down to earth they were, and even the staff there as well. Just I knew from that moment that this was going to be a great fit. So you've read my book, right, Dustin?
Sure. Yes, I have. Yeah.
Cover to cover, right?
You bet.
I'm not sure if you remember this story in there. So sales have always been in my nature, even back when, I didn't have the biggest self-esteem. But do you remember the oil contest story?
Yes, I do.
There. So I'll share with the listeners. There's a story in there. I used to work for Mohawk Oil in the gas stations, and through two different locations. That's right. At the Maple Ridge location and the North Van location, when I was working there, they would have oil contests. So back then, so we're talking, the 1980s, right? And cars went through a lot more oil than they do nowadays. So we'd have oil contests to sell a case of oil or as many 1 liter jugs of oil as you can. And so I just always push myself to be the best at stuff like that. I wish I pushed myself to be the best at other things in my life, but hey, you got to start somewhere. And what I would do is I would carry that case of oil on my shoulder wherever I went. So I'd walk out to the car and greeting the customer, hey, how you doing today? Can I fill it up for you? I'd wash the windshield, one-handed with the squeegee, check the tires, get their cash and stuff. And every single time a customer would say, well,
What are you
doing, man? Like, how come you're carrying that case of oil on your shoulder? And I said to them, well, my boss won't let me put it down until I sell it. And they're like, holy crap, how much is it? So $19.99. Great. I'll take a case. I'll get that off your shoulder. So I sell it to them. Then I'd go pick up another case and I'd do the whole thing over again. Yeah. And guess what? I won every single contest, every single one, by just having that tenacity. And, I had fellow employees thought it was nuts. Fellow employees even tried to do the same as me.
Couldn't keep it up.
Yeah. It was too tiring. And I say that to sort of get into your story, but about entrepreneurship. A lot of people, I think, dream about being self-employed. They have this dream, but they never really chase it. They have the dream, wow, I'd love to be my own boss, have my own company, get away from the old 9-to-5 sort of thing. But they don't act on it. They don't have that perseverance, sort of like with the oil contest. They want that perseverance to carry that case of oil on your shoulder the whole time. Let me know what you think about entrepreneurship and how you relate to that case of oil story and perseverance.
Yeah.
And share a little insight, a few sentences about what your store does.
Yeah. So the Wicker Tree is a family-owned furniture business specializing in outdoor patio furniture. We cater to a higher-end, higher-quality product. The goal there and the belief is that, when you're investing in quality, it's comfortable from day one and it lasts for a very long time.
Awesome. So entrepreneurship, case of oil.
Yes. So what struck me about that story there is when, you're going there with, I'd call it tenacity, but also an authenticity, right? You're being true to your company, true to your overall goal. What I liked about your story there is that you took something that you needed to move, but it also gave the customer or potential customer a reason to think, geez, maybe I can help this guy out. I don't want to have to carry this around all day. Yeah, I'm going to use it or need it anyways. It actually moved the oil as opposed to just promoting, fluff or gimmicks or whatever. And anytime you can strike up a conversation with somebody and help them become more comfortable about a potential sale, that's the key. And that's powerful stuff.
Right. Absolutely. It's sort of like, what do they call it? The point of purchase, when you have things that sell, what's the word? What's the phrase I'm looking for here?
The impulse buy or
impulse buy. Thank you. The impulse buy. Yeah. So they didn't come in. They came in to, have a tank of gas.
Yeah.
And they saw this poor old soul with this case of oil on his shoulder. And lugging around, sweat on his brow.
Yeah.
And I'm going to save this guy by buying that case of oil. And they did an impulse buy.
Yeah.
It's great.
They did an impulse buy, but they also left with a memory of you doing that. They're more likely to come back to that gas station again because it was a unique experience. There was something going on there. Right. And, some people might say, well, no, they're going to avoid it because they're going to feel like they need to go and buy something extra. I disagree. I think they have a greater connection and a greater sense of, no, if I need something else, or if I have a question or maybe something I need advice on or whatever, seems like they've got some things going on. They've got a good energy there. They've got salespeople out there pushing a product, or at least one sales guy who's taking it to the next level. So let's go back there.
Right.
And I think that especially in your world back then, lots of gas stations around, right? Lots of people could potentially,
absolutely,
compete for that business. So what do you do to stand out? What do you do to be unique? Yeah.
Bingo. That's it. And I can tell when I walk into your store, I can tell that's how you have trained your staff to give that customer the unique experience, the very personalized experience. Very impressed with your staff, and hence that's why you're on the show.
Thanks.
Impressed with what you do.
They're a good team.
So obviously, being an entrepreneur, you've obviously faced challenges. And I just want you to share a time when you faced adversity, whether it's through business or personal life, and how you overcame it by just moving forward, by just pushing your way through it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's been a number of challenges or adversities to face. It's I guess I mentioned before, it's a family-owned business. Over time, there's conflicts and challenges even within the family and whatnot. I think the thing that stood out for me when I was thinking about that question for us to chat about a little bit was taking us back to COVID 2020. Back where if we go back to March 2020, everything is shut down. We don't really have a choice, right?
I don't think we need any introduction to March 2020. I think everybody all over the world knows about
all over
March
the world
2020.
know exactly what we're talking about. So,
Absolutely.
and depending on maybe where you're watching this from or what even country you're in, different rules, different things happen. But for us, For a retail store, it was shut down. And we weren't sure when it was going to open again. And, when you're self-employed, when you're, also responsible for, your staff, they've got families and bills to pay and stuff. You really internalize all this stuff. You really think about that and think, well, what are we going to do? Not just for me, but for them. We've all got bills to pay. We've got suppliers that, we owe money to. We, have rent that needs to somehow continue. But you've got in a business like ours, we're reliant on people coming through our door, connecting with them and selling a product. So that was a big problem for us. We're not online. And even today, where we have some things available online, for the most part, our product is such that it's very customizable. So you're going to want to come in, sit on it, try it out, learn about some of the product quality, the build quality, the options available, and go from there.
Choose the fabrics, stuff like that,
Choose
right?
the fabrics, yeah. And, but it's really about... Again, I mentioned before, it's an investment. And I think for most people, they want to come in and they want to, have the best feeling they can before they're going to lay down that money. And the way to do that is to come and try it out. Been doing this for so long that we can really help them do that. And that's part of our secret sauce, is that connection with people, right? I mean, it sounds like, how is that a secret? Well, go out to some other places and you might discover it. For us, we connect with people and that seems to really work well. So we're here in March 2020. We don't know what we're going to do. I was literally walking around the store late at night, just thinking, how can we do this? What's next? What's going to happen? Fortunately, in our part of the world, you were allowed to open up shortly thereafter with limited numbers of people in the store. Social distancing was in effect, all those kinds of things. I mean, I was anxious. I was worried, unprepared for anything like this, and not sure, how to move forward. But then I thought to myself, okay, I need to reach out to, some people. So I reached out to, some of my mentors, board of advisors, family, and realizing that, hey, you know what, we really are all in the same boat here. We can either be woe is me about it, or what can I do? One of the things we could do, we pivoted to launching a program online where we actually still run it to this day, a VIP program where we could connect with people and do a one-on-one session, which satisfied the social distancing guidelines. People loved it. People loved the increased personal attention. They could come in, they, could sit down with one of our team who, we've got a lot of experience doing this. We help you plan out and build out your dream living space. You could book this online. We launched an online booking system, something we'd never had before. We also did showroom tours in videos that we could put on the website and connect with people. And then we opened it up where you could email us and connect with us and say, hey, I saw such and such. And we're talking bare bones here, not like you might say, well, that's nothing about this sounds, state of the art. It wasn't. But nor were we as a company set up to do state-of-the-art online, sales and consultations. This was pretty new in terms of interacting with our customers in this method. But we found ways, respecting ourselves, our customers, and I think, Des, at the end of the day, one of the biggest things, and I resonated with this when reading your book as well, is we were honest. We were genuine, and it showed. And that connection with our customers is everything at the end of the day. Kindness, humility, authenticity. And the other big thing about it, and you have some of this in the stories that you relate, is humor. Having that levity, so important. I cannot stress that enough, because it was a stressful time going through the pandemic, right?
Absolutely.
We were all in the same boat. Nobody knew what was next. That uncertainty was very challenging. And in many ways today, there's different levels of uncertainty, and it's still challenging. If you can connect with somebody and have a couple of laughs with them, they know you're a real human, and people in retail, we're real humans too. We have families, we go home, we want to, hang out and have a good time and all the rest of it. So that to us, it was a great learning curve. It was scary at times. It was very uncertain, but it turned as we pivoted into some of our biggest successes, not just in terms of new programs that we launched online, leveraging technology, but also leveraging heart and how we connected with our customers. We're approaching it with a customer first, heart-based approach.
Absolutely. Going on that, I really found that when I was a rep for Big Green Egg, I found that what worked for me the best was exactly what you said. Everyone's a human being. So I wanted to make sure that, as you said, you got bombarded with, reps coming in all the time. Oh, get my product in your store. How about my product? And it must get so tiring, right? So if you can experience a rep that comes in and is, tells you a joke or, has a different approach, you might, hey, there's something different about this guy. I can connect with him because he's a human being, right? Yeah. And I can tell your staff does that same approach when I come to your store. A couple of things you said I want to touch base on here. Sure. So the first thing you said in that conversation was going into the pandemic, and the pandemic hit, and it's more than just yourself that you have to worry about. It's your staff.
Yeah.
Like their livelihood as well. So having a business and having employees, it's almost like having kids, isn't it? Because you're you're going from a single person, you're single, you live in life, hey, do whatever I want, I'm just responsible for me, and that's it, to having kids, and now you're not just you anymore. You're responsible for your family, and your business is your family, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You're responsible for multiple people, and you know what? And each of those people have hopes, dreams, fears, challenges, all that kind of stuff. Again, when you have a team, they don't just work for you and do a job. That's part of why you've connected with them, but they still bring their humanity with them through the door, and you can either ignore it or you can respect it and encourage it, connect with it. There's a different energy, there's a different feel to it. People, immediately when you walk through a door somewhere, pretty much how you're going to feel for the rest of your visit.
Yeah, for
sure. You either want to continue or you want to turn around and leave. And obviously a key thing for us is we need to encourage customers to come in. We want you walking through that door. Right. We do not want you turning around immediately and leaving. So treating people with respect and kindness and caring about them is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. So that being said, if somebody is single and they have dreams of owning a company, I wonder if that plays a part. They don't have the experience of having kids. They don't have the experience of caring for somebody else. Do you have any children, Dustin?
I don't.
So you are the perfect example of what I'm talking about. So you get into this business, you're single, you don't have kids, you have no idea what it's like. I'm just in charge of me, and that's it. And now you're in charge of, or not really in charge of, well, you are, but you're taking care of your employees, which are like your family, right? So absolutely, it can be done, right? It can be done. So those listeners out there that are single, hey, you can do it, man. If Dustin can do it, you can do it.
You can absolutely do it. Absolutely do it. I think one of the keys though, Des, is like when you approached us with Big Green Egg, and for anybody wanting to go into business for themselves, you want to have quality product, service, whatever it is. It needs to be based in with that kind of a foundation, so that it's valid for people who want to learn more about it, whatever it may be.
Right.
Because if it's not, if you can't do that, it's so much harder to connect with anybody, to promote it, sell it, even believe in it yourself. And so that's one of the things, like when you came to us and we liked you. That was great. It was interesting to continue a conversation with you as opposed to being like, okay, it's just one more rep. No, this was a guy who came in, but he was passionate about this product, this Big Green Egg. You're selling a product that is great. The quality's there. So you don't have to worry about learning a bunch of jargon that to bamboozle. That's not necessary.
Right.
And that
I'm not going to come there and you're going to have your staff holding like patio chairs on their shoulder.
We might have to give some thought to that. But no, there's something to be said about again, I think it's a way of generating interest and getting a conversation started. That was sort of my takeaway from your story there. It was like, what is this guy doing? What is he walking around the gas station doing? You had your own reasons why, but the customer driving up had no idea why. Like, is he okay?
That's
right.
And they're gonna ask.
Yeah,
you'd be a fool not to ask. Why does this guy have this case of whatever on his shoulder? And you could tell that he's struggling because it's not light. And like, well, why is he doing that? So you really have to be crazy to not ask this guy, why you're doing it. And that was sort of my whole mindset, right? So in a sense, being self-employed in this day and age is easier for sure. Absolutely. Because there's so many things that you can research online. We didn't have the internet back then. It's funny when I talk to my kids and I tell them we didn't have the internet, like, what'd you do, man? Like, well,
Yeah.
well, we went down to the video store. We rented a VHS, and you had to return it by a certain day. I had to make sure it's rewound and all that stuff, man. It's just crazy. How did we even survive? I have no idea how we survived, man. The other thing that you had mentioned in your story that I want to touch base on as well is that when you came across this time of adversity, COVID-19, the pandemic, worldwide pandemic, you're running your business, and what you did, and this is something that people can do not only in business, but in personal life as well. What you did was you went to your, as you say, quote unquote, mentors, and you had like a brainstorming session. I'd say powwow session, but I don't think we're allowed to say powwow session anymore. So I apologize for that. The whole world is like so politically correct nowadays. You really got to watch your P's and Q's. So I apologize that I even brought that up. But anyway, you had a brainstorming session with them.
We did.
And I think that's crucial. And here's how that plays in your personal life, not your personal life specifically, Dustin. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But if you're thinking about something in your personal life, maybe you have a dilemma, maybe you have a problem, or maybe you have an idea that you want to create your own business. I want to start making this product, or anything. I want to know what car I should buy next. Literally anything. Get your friend group. You can call them mentors if you want, family group, friends, whatever, and have a brainstorming session, even if it's just two people tossing around ideas, because you are now taking that thought process out of your head and sharing it with someone, and they may bring up some obvious pitfalls that you might not have thought of, or they may even come up with some great ideas that you may not have thought of. And having that interaction, that conversation back and forth, everyone can benefit from that, whether it's business or personal.
Absolutely. And sometimes it's not that you necessarily get all the answers from your friends or family or mentors, but you get hooks of ideas that you don't know where that might go.
Good point. So even if you're having a brainstorming session and nothing really comes from it directly, but there could be a spark in there. There could be a spark that leads to something else. Yeah. Make sure you reach out to your friend group, reach out to your mentors. If you're considering to do anything and you have doubts, just get someone's opinion. Get a second opinion, a third opinion, or whatever. And I meet with my best friend, Dave. We have lunch or breakfast once a month. It's just basically to get caught up. And I've known him since grade 4. I mentioned him in the book as well. He's been through me with my whole life almost. And we come up with so many crazy ideas just from chatting. Oh, what about, I never thought about that, So I think it's just so important. I think people really miss that opportunity in their lives to really get something going. Again, personal business doesn't really matter. Now we're going to get a little personal here, Dustin.
Okay.
And I want to ask you, what do you think your purpose in life is? Big question, I know. I'm sorry.
For me, I've always, I think, had a pretty good way of maintaining a positive air about things. I think my purpose is connecting with people, whether it's with my customers or my team, providing a good and safe work environment. It wasn't, when I first went into business, that I didn't think about any of those things, but I have reflected on that a bit more now as the years have passed, and I'm quite proud of that contribution to community. We get to do some great charity stuff as well. So that to me is where my path is going to continue, Des. I've said to my family before, I've said, you know what if someone is relaxing out there on their patio and they're having that time with in connection, whether it's, just with their spouse or, their kids or family members or whatever, what might they be coming up with that changes the world? And you know what? Maybe part of my contribution is helping them just have a place where they can feel absolutely at ease and they can do that. And if that's all it is, I'm very proud of that. That's great.
Absolutely. I love that because, as you know, listeners, I'm also Chef Des, and I've written like 9 cookbooks. And I always think when I write a recipe, and every single one of my recipes are tested and retested, and when I write a recipe that's just incredible, like just tastes amazing, and I have all the instructions, you can make this restaurant quality food at home. I take that same sort of mentality where I think I am changing how people feed their bodies. And I know I'm being very dramatic. I get that, but logically it's true. Like I am taking something, idea in my head, forming it into a process where people can repeat that process, and they're nurturing their bodies with that and enjoying the process all the meantime. And during that, That could be something that, oh, I want to make this for a dinner party. It could be sparking great conversation. It could be reinforcing relationships. There's so much good that can come from that. And again, you could argue that I'm being dramatic or whatever, but it's true. It's absolutely true. Just like you said about the furniture, right?
I remember you always said with regards to like the eggs and stuff like that, everybody needs to eat. Everybody,
That's right. How many of your customers eat food, right?
Yeah.
Probably 100% of them.
Exactly. And, and it makes a lot of sense. And it says, and you know what, when you say that to a customer, they kind of stop and they think, yeah, you're right. You're right. Yes. That does matter, right? Most people enjoy eating, and it's a place, and for many as a place of connection. Sometimes for some families, it's the one time in the day where they see each other. Right. And they can have some conversations. So it's absolutely, it sounds silly. Some people might roll their eyes and be like, well, of course we eat. Of course we sit on chairs. Like, duh. But you know what?
I used to do that at trade shows, eh? I used to see people walking by my booth at the trade show. Hey, do you eat food? Hey, how about you? Do you eat food? And you're right. Some of them think you're crazy, but it creates conversation and it's unique. Right. And it gets people talking in a joking sort of way and sort of gets their guard down.
Absolutely.
Right? One last thing I want to ask you before we say goodbye is I want you to know if you can offer a piece of advice to my listeners on how to be resilient, because obviously being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, whether it's, self-employed and you have no employees, or whether you're self-employed and you have 100 employees. Yeah. What's your best piece of advice on how to be resilient in personal life, in personal struggles, in business struggles, anything?
Okay. So for me, I think some things that I've learned is that you can't be 100% for everyone in everything all the time. There's going to be some people who don't connect with you, don't like you, and you've got to be okay with that. You've got to be able to let that go. And you've got to turn, focus your energy on the things that you can control. And the other thing for me that's really important is you do have to take some time to step back every now and then for yourself. Be kind to yourself is advice I was given a long time ago by a very good friend. Whatever your title may be, it can be a challenge. So you got to remember to do that.
Absolutely. Even in personal life as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
In all areas.
Absolutely. Awesome. And that brings us to the end of this episode. I just want to take a moment to say a heartfelt thank you to Dustin for joining us today. Your insight, your story, your energy have been truly inspiring. And it's conversations like this that remind us why we do what we do, to connect, to grow, and to light the way for others. So thank you again, Dustin, for sharing your time, your wisdom with our listeners. It's been an absolute pleasure and an honor having you on the show.
Thank you, Des.
And to everyone, thank you, Dustin. And to everyone tuning in, thank you for being part of this journey. If today's episode moved you, inspired you, or even just made you think a little deeper, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review. And goodbye for now.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Keep Moving Forward, the Success Formula podcast. If today's conversation moved you, imagine what over 480 pages of truth, resilience, and real-life strategies could do. My brand new memoir, Keep Moving Forward, the Success Formula, is part story, part survival guide, and it's written for you. Grab your copy today on Amazon or wherever you buy your books, and let's keep walking this journey together. I'm Gordon Des. Thanks for listening. Thanks for believing. And as always, keep moving forward. See you on the next episode.